I came from the mud. There's dirt on my hands.
Welcome to Build an Iconic Life podcast. I'm your host, Chris Whitehead, and this podcast is dedicated to help you build a life with zero regrets by focusing on how you have everything you need to stand up, stand out, and live life on your terms. Let's dive right in. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Build an Iconic Life. I'm here with Jenn Rees, and I'm telling you, this lady has been through a lot. She's a lot. She runs multiple companies actually at this point, right?
Yes, sir.
And you are heavily involved in faith, family, fitness, and finance, and you are heavily involved in giving back to communities, especially younger women. And dive into that a little bit with you today because I'll tell you what, everybody, you might want the children to go into another room because when Jen starts talking, real talk comes out. So just a warning for you. But Jen, welcome. Glad you're here.
Thank you. I appreciate the invite. I'm very excited to be on and talk about something that I'm very passionate about, families and especially the youth and young adults. And now's the time to be in this place.
Tell me what led to the passion. You don't have to give the whole backstory, but give them a little taste of it.
So grew up in a really great house. My parents are still married. I have a sister who's a year and a half younger than myself, and I always felt very different, like the black sheep. And you know, when you're young, sometimes parents don't, as parents, especially with my own kids, is that they have this perception of who they want you to be, and when you don't know how to forge it together, then the kids start picking up like unbeliefs. And that's what I did when I was younger. Just was like, I don't belong here. I'm not a part of. So I took a very hard path for a very long time. And the passion comes from, I wanted to become the woman I didn't have. Someone that was bold enough to stand next to young women that were struggling deep in the dark, drug addiction, suicidal thoughts, to young women that they know who they want to be, they know their identity, they just don't know how to step into it. These teens, these young people just need bold people, and I am that person.
How did it start?
So I got my life together. Well, I started to get my life together at 24, and I just realized that some of the questions that I really wanted somebody to ask me were never asked. And no one ever told me that the black sheep or being different was actually a beautiful gift. I always felt, or I was told, that to fall in line. And it just never fit right. And so once I got sober at 24 with 2 kids and dove straight into that. And once, changes, my friend Dan says change is imperative. And so just allowed the change to literally take over. And it was a whirlwind. And then like clarity came, the light came back on. And from that point, I've always wanted to help people, especially women and young women.
Talk about the methodology of how you help, because I don't think it's all just counseling.
It's not. I've done scared straight programs. I've been in juvenile detention centers. I've mentored young women after being trafficked, homeless teens, prostitution rings for my daughter and I would collect little baby soaps, and there's an area down in Houston where the girls work, and we would just drop off little bags of shampoos and soaps, and we would leave a little note like, we see you and we love you. And just speaking into like wherever they're at. I didn't care how dark it was. I didn't care how light it was. I just wanted to be where they were at and them feel like it was okay for them to take a deep breath and not have any shame or guilt. And just knew that someone loved them no matter what. And that's how it all really started. I've done a lot of behind the scenes work. I've been very heavily involved in my communities for 20 years.
You also took all that energy that you put to trying to destroy yourself for a while into a physical realm You want to tell anybody about that?
I would love to. It's one of my superpowers, I believe. So there's a lot of, I felt a lot of dissatisfaction, and I thought it was anger, and it wasn't. There was a lot of disappointment or a lot of loneliness, and I needed to get it out. And so my whole family, we do martial arts, jiu-jitsu and Krav, and self-defense is a huge, huge part of our lives, and for a lot of reasons. One, when you feel confident about who you are and you're aware of situational awareness. And a lot of people think situational awareness is just looking around outside. It's not. You can have it inside of your own homes, homework. It's, are you willing to see what you're not normally willing to see or hear right in front of you? And when I get these women into punching the bag or get them in a chokehold, and I'm like, fight for your life. It doesn't matter what it looks like. Like, perfection is a lie. Like, your job is to get the F out of this chokehold right now, any way, any shape, and like, go. And I'm not easy. And to see the light come on, and then for them to realize, oh, I'm not helpless. I'm not dainty. I'm violent. I'm the beast and the beauty. And there's a beautiful, it's like a beautiful revelation that comes when women are allow themselves to be the masculine side and also the feminine side.
I think that, you know, coming from the other side of that, because I grew up all boy, and you know, always had this ability to tap into a more vulnerable space. But you know, all the men in my life, like that's not acceptable. And as I started moving more toward it, the more feminine qualities that I have, it didn't emasculate me at all. In fact, it made me more whole because I was able to blend the right one at the right time. Now, Robin would tell you I still mess that up quite frequently, but
Sure.
um, but what I noticed is that energy actually enhanced my male energy, and it also started to build that alignment. I like being around Robin because she's a girly girl.
Mm.
It enhances my masculine.
Yep.
She also has the capacity that if you step on her big toe at the wrong time, she goes from 5'3" to 6'9", and everybody go, because when mama's not happy, no, everybody knows about it. Nobody's happy. And
Yeah.
it allowed me to, instead of fight it head on, which was the instinct, to actually take that step back and have some situational awareness. And it's actually a lot harder to do that when you're in fight or flight mode than you would ever think. But you have to be trained.
Yep.
You have to be trained. And you literally take people from thinking that they're the only person in the universe dealing with their nonsense to being around other people that are doing it and doing something proactive about it. And I would imagine, has that stolen any of your femininity at all?
You know, the radical thing about it is, especially the last couple of years, I have become way more feminine. So I am very, very masculine. Very, very powerful. My dad, I grew up with a dad that wanted to know that whatever age, whatever happened, we would be like right on. I mean, my sister and I could change a toilet at like 9 and 10 years old. We knew how to change the oil in the car and our tires and spark plugs. And so we were raised very masculine, and also raised in a way that, yes, like, being a woman is important, but it also comes with great power. And that's sometimes I think the tension for women is our feminine charm is so powerful, and like, to learn how to order the chaos in it when the masculine side comes in, when it's too much feminine side and you're too soft. And that's the fight or flight that you're talking about. Most of us go to the one side when we're in fight or flight. So when I'm in fight or flight, most of the time I'm in both fight and flight. That I go very masculine, and what has really occurred is that the softer, the more soft I've become. And what I mean by soft is like gentle and feminine, and the way I dress, the way that I walk, even the way that I talk. I mean, I had a trucker mouth for years, and that was like almost like a pissing contest. And I've been around men my whole life. I mean, my cousins are 6'4" to 6'9", literally. So when you're 5'5" and you're around a bunch of these big, like you use what you have, and sometimes you forget about the other side. And so what has really happened, especially in the self-defense stuff, is that there's this piece of me that is really, really pouring out in a soft and gentle way. And just like Robin, like from little sweet Robin to like the giant that's like, like pause. I'm seeing that now that I'm using the softer side, things actually really, doors open, peace comes, the chaos naturally goes in order. I don't have to even fight it or try it. It just naturally becomes. And when I remember what I'm aiming at the end of any conversation, I always have a target after any conversation. I want, and right, like as of lately, it's, I want people to know how loved they are. That's the target. And whoever I get to become in that moment, if I'm not even that woman, then people see it throughout the conversation. And I think that's just such the wonderful side of this new feminine Jenn that's coming out, and knowing that I am a badass. It has nothing to do with me being a badass. Once my attitude and the belief of it came, and how I feel about myself, the facts about who I am, I didn't even have to force it. It just naturally comes out now.
You know, one of the things getting to know you, you're a pretty strong Christian, right?
Yes, sir.
Me too. And what's cool is that it's not a religion for me. It's for me, it's really about following the way, you know? And it's interesting, some of us, especially because we have bigger stages to speak on and the ability to communicate. The way it came about for me is a very different, like, it's not going to church every Sunday and doing all the things on Wednesday night. And I tried those things. I even was a youth pastor for a while.
Sure.
But my walk with God has been literally the most important thing that I've ever experienced. So much so I wrote about it in my book. But the reason I'm asking you the question is I have a very, and I've never talked to you about this, so I'm actually interested. What is your story of coming into faith? Because I think you came in it sideways. I don't think you came like it's just a guess, but I want to hear it, like, anything you care about that.
One of my most favorite topics. I am a believer in Christ. It is very relationship. Most of the time, I don't even say I'm a Christian.
Me either.
And
It's the
that's,
first time I've ever said that on a podcast.
yeah. So it's, I mean, us as the church collectively, and I don't mean the building. I mean,
Right.
as believers in Christ, you know, when we represent Christ, any person that we see at any moment. And I can leave a bad taste in the mouth of someone, and that's who they're going to see as Christ. And so I'm called to take the church out of the church to the streets. And I ask, like, when in the morning for my meditation, and when I hit my knees, like, God, give me whoever you want, and let me love on whoever it is in any moment. Let me have like the boldness to go up to anyone that you highlight for me. And you know, that was not my whole story. I actually came, I mean, I was raised Catholic. Like, thank God for my mom. My dad was atheist for a long time, and my mom took us to church, and we heard about Jesus. And so I always knew that there was something bigger than me. I just didn't understand the relationship part. For me, it was like there is this God that's so far away, and then if I do something bad, then the farther away he goes. Um, and then once I started drugs and alcohol and got into this crowd, I completely walked away from God. It's like so much so that I was on the other team. So I come from an occult background, witchcraft and curses and everything. And when I got sober, the internal part was coming out. The soul was going to war, and I was unaware that I was losing. And actually, what came about was I was actually winning. And so at, I think it was 25, I gave my life to Christ. And this wonderful woman, she mentored me for a year, and she took me through the word like line by line. And we didn't start where people normally start. And this is how amazing God is. This is how amazing people are when they get out of who they think they should be, or if they're a church leader inside the building. When you get people out of the building, sometimes you get to see who they really are. And this woman said, she said, "I will stand with you." And I mean, I used to wear a shirt, Chris, that said "F you, you F and F." Like, I mean, it was hard for people to come up. So for her to be able to stand with me for a year, and we started with the book of Revelation.
Mm-hmm.
And then from the book of Revelation, we started into Old Testament. Like, she didn't even take me through New Testament for the longest time. And the minute we started to go through it, I was like, I'm ready. And that my whole world changed. How I viewed people, how I viewed God, how I viewed myself, that God had never left me, never. I was the one that he was going to chase after me until I let him find me. That's one of my friend Dan's his saying, but that, you know, the clouds are his feet, the dust of his feet, and the mountains are shouting, and the trees are clapping for me. And once I really like understood that, I knew I was never alone. And faith is everything, especially when I'm not God.
Yeah.
So I came in very sideways. I'd say I flew in sideways, came in like Tasmanian devil. Well, really in the fight or flight, wanted to scare people off. There were people that were scared, and then there were a couple people that weren't. Like my husband, he initially brought me in and asked me if I wanted to go to church on Easter Sunday, and I was like, okay, fine. We were dating, you know, and I mean that because of his boldness and him willing to bring some witch into a church, it radically changed my life.
For me, I think the most beautiful part about faith, you know, and I'm not here to judge anybody on what they believe. I'm still working on me and what I believe, but that's the whole point of it. I think when you truly dive into it, there's an evolution that occurs for the remainder of our time here. I keep getting closer and closer to God all the time. And the more I know, the more questions I have. So it's really strange. But the most beautiful thing, very much like you, I was 22 when I made a conscious decision about it. And my life has never been the same since. I've been in service ever since. I've desired to be in service ever since. It's put me in situations that require God to help me out because I can't help myself out. But very much like you, I was so very alone. And I'm not ever alone anymore. And that is a comfort that a lot of people, I think, in our world don't know. And I meditate on this quite a bit. You know, we're kind of weird.
Yeah.
And I've been weird for a while.
I love it.
I don't remember not being weird now. That's how long I've been weird. So I don't relate to the problems as much as I used to because of my outlook. Like if I go today or tomorrow, I still have things that I want to do, but I don't have any fear. I'm here for a purpose. It's not to fill my belly. My purpose has gone far beyond even my immediate family. It's now leaving a legacy, and that legacy has nothing to do with me. I could give a rip if anybody ever remembers my name, but I want to do good. And I want to do good because when no human could do any good for me, because I tried, God had it already planned out. I just had to kind of start walking and stepping in faith. And I think a lot of people are missing that. I think a lot of people feel really lonely, even in relationships. And, you know, it's one of the, like, I think they're creating more television shows just so like they're trying to fill this hole and they just won't do it. It just won't ever do it. And for me, whether we talk about Christ, whether we talk about Allah, whether we talk about even witchcraft, I don't care what we talk about. What
Yeah.
I'm looking for is the seed. And if we can find the seed, we can find common ground. And if we can find common ground, we can water that. And what that becomes is what that becomes. And it's a never ending puzzle to me to have conversations with people for one thing only. I want to hear them take that real big breath in. And then and I know you've heard it, Jen, they just let it out. And that's like, man, that's years of stale crap that's coming out in that breath. And then if we can fill them up immediately with just some love that we've received, boy, you look at them we're old enough now. I can look back and I know people for 20 and 30 years now. And I'm like, wow, I was a little part in that. And look at how your life has changed. That's amazing. And then they've gone out to help other people, help other people, help other people. And it's like, that's what we're here to do. And I think so many people are getting sensationalized into who's the president, or did Donald Trump just get 23 indictments, or is our financial markets going to crash, or this, or are we becoming a one world, or are we still a country? And it's like, man, that shit doesn't really matter. People are people. And there's a fight. There's literally a war going on. And the war is for the souls of people. And it takes people like you that are bold enough not to be rude about it, because I don't think it's accepted the way it was even 20 years ago.
Yeah.
But to just sit down and meet people where they are and have the relatability because you've been there, and say, hey, there might be another way. Would you be interested in talking about it? And here's the cool thing. I know for a fact if somebody says, nah, that's not for me, do you go beat them over the head with a Bible?
No.
Plant the seed and move on.
Yeah, it's the very interesting thing about faith is that, like you said earlier, the more I understand, the less I really get. And it's an amazing, beautiful grounding point. Like you said, that I am literally constantly, God, is this it? Or like, what are we doing next? It's never like, okay, I'm on it. I got it. What are we doing next? Who are we going? And I have this one young lady I was mentoring, and I'm still mentoring her and working with her. And one of the radical things, the boldness in me, I'm not afraid to be like, I'm not going to beat around the bush. And she was really complaining about how life was sucking and like all of this stuff. And she's like, I don't understand. God's not here. And like, I got a little flash of like some like tarot cards type things. And I just flat asked her, I'm like, hey, like, are you practicing like tarot cards? Are you cursing people? And she turns around and looks at me and she was like, yeah. And I said, okay, well, you have 1 foot in, 1 foot out.
Yeah.
And like wherever you want to put your foot, like I'm here with you. And she like looked at me and she was like, I don't know where I want to put your foot. And I said, no, that's not true. If what else could it be? And a lot of people are afraid because of the isolation, social media, television. You have like this feminist stuff, and then like toxic masculinity, like all the stuff that is distracting our youth and our families to such a division that now it's real loneliness. It's not, people don't feel alone. They feel like they could be in a room with 500 people and nobody sees them. And it's a bold-faced effing lie. And that's for me, that's it. Like I know I can't save everyone. That's not my job.
Right.
And as much as I think that I want to, praise God that it's not, but I know how to till the soil. I know how to get people to wake up in a way that is not condemning. It is not, you should do this, or it is like, I'm not a Bible thumper. When people know me, they ask like, something's different about you. And like, do you believe in God? Like people actually now ask me, I don't even have to say anything. And from there, this beautiful conversation starts coming out. And, I have a best friend who is a Wiccan, and we know some friends, and they're like some of my tightest group. Why? Because I'm not judging their faith. I'm not judging them. I get to judge fruit. And with that, I got to take a look at myself.
Yeah.
And Christ was at the well. Like, he was at the well with the prostitute, with the lepers. He was in the garden by himself for 40 days, 40 nights, crying and sweating blood and tears for me, for all the sins that he knew that I was going to commit, even to the time of death, when I don't even know when that is. And he put himself in such a place where he was willing to take on that loneliness and that sadness. And that for me was like, oh, that breath. Okay, great. And I know that that's how I'm armored up, is to come alongside and just tell someone, hey, like, I'm here, I'm standing with you. I'll hold up your arms until you're strong enough to go, and then you need to go. Like, you're not staying. Like, you go. I'm always here for you, but go share your revelation. Go share what has occurred for you. And, that's what these teens want. That's what these young women want. They want, 50-year-old women that have a successful career, everyone's finding that work-life home balance. Like, what if that's not the aim? What if the aim is love? And every single conversation you have, whether it's personal or business, and I think business is personal.
Yeah.
That you go after the heart. You don't go after the dollar sign. You don't go after the next thing. You just go after people's heart and just look them in the eye and let them see that, hey, I'm here. We've got this. And be with them and show them the difference between when to fight and when to take a stand for themselves. And that's where a lot of the martial arts stuff comes in. There's a time, even in self-defense, that the fighting is actually against you. You can use somebody else, just stand and use somebody else's momentum to actually win the fight if you just take a deep breath and pause. And, it helps both ways.
Yeah, that's analogous to everything in life, actually. I tell my clients all the time, they pay their nut and we get going. They're like, I'm ready to go. And I go, slow is fast. Ask me how I know. I'd rather build that foundation and let it set up properly before we start putting wood on top of it, because it's funny when it starts leaning. Hard to fix that.
The part that's hard to fix is people think they have to start all over.
Oh yeah.
And so your house is leaning. Okay, great. We start from this part. Like, you don't have to blow it all up again. And it's really our perception. And now that I'm willing to have a different attitude, and I want a perception of things that I don't see. I don't want it to be my initial thought. I don't. I want it to be, okay, what else is it? What else could it be? What else could be bothering her? Or what does she want to celebrate, but she's too afraid to celebrate? Do you know how many people are afraid to celebrate their wins?
Yeah.
And it goes into this comparison, and I'm not about that. Like, it's not an ego thing. It's like, look at what has occurred. Look what God has done, or whoever your higher power is. Like, I didn't do this alone. I'm not here because of myself, even though for a long time I thought that it was all me. It wasn't. And people and relationships and resources are so important. Every person I meet is a resource.
I agree.
It may not, I'm not saying for me necessarily, but they're connectors for somebody else. And I think that's probably the most beautiful thing that has occurred for me, is realizing that, life isn't about me, and it is. And, and the more I'm willing to the more I'm willing to see who I am or what I'm up to, then all of a sudden I'm like, nope, that's not what I want, God. Like, you show me, and just step into it. And I don't have to have all the answers all the time.
Yeah, I spent a large part of my life being very busy.
Yeah.
It's a strength of mine. So, you lean on what you can do. And that's why the whole moniker of slow is fast now, because I realized that I was pushing on pull doors, that, I was blowing things up that didn't need to be ripped down. Quite literally, when I started my first business at 24, if I had a knot in electrical cords, I'd throw the whole damn thing away and just go to Home Depot or Lowe's and buy a new one, because I had no patience for it. And that's analogous to a lot of different things. And I couldn't agree with you more. A lot of this for you've gone to a lot of seminars.
Oh, yes.
And,
lots.
There's one mode of thinking that goes, oh, you're a seminar junkie, right?
Mm-hmm.
My experience has been quite opposite. Now, I've definitely kissed a few toads. I've gone to some things and just been like, wow, that was a pitch fest, or oh, not the right core values, or I'm too nervous, like something didn't work. But hell, you and I just came back from one a month and a half ago where it was supposed to be about business, and by the second day, I still remember you sitting in the very, very back. To me, I was up front. You were in the back right corner, and you're like, nope, I got nothing to say. I'm just sitting back here and taking it all in, because the room had almost alchemized, and everyone was sitting there vulnerable, open, and pouring in, the audience as well as the speakers. And I'm leading up to asking you about something that you're getting ready to put together, but what has been your experience, and why would you invest the money to go and fly and stay in a hotel and meet people that you've never met and learn? And what kinds of things have you found the biggest benefit for people at different kinds of seminars? Because there's some that have 5,000 people, there's some that have 12 people. Like, just give your experience through that and what the benefit's been.
Well, for a long time, the events were a place for me to hide. I was very unsure of, I don't want to say my purpose. I wasn't sure how to bring it really about. And so I started going to a bunch of events. And what I really realized is that once I stopped hiding out, that it like maps out life. Even the worst, crappiest events that I've been at, I got a huge golden nugget. And I know when I'm pressing in so I can grow, and I know when I need to pause and be still when I need to be fed. And that was like this last event. It was a very intimate thing. A lot of people were wondering how they can create intimacy with their spouses. And that's the part that, for me, that's what it's about. Like, you can have a very successful business. My husband and I have done it many times, and him and I literally hated each other. What's the point? What's the point of having the cars and the houses and all these amazing things when you can't even stand to look at someone? And that's what's so important about these events, is when you find your people, they're your people, and they are for you. And it's a radical way to humble yourself into being like, okay, like, this is really happening. And coaching is important. I mean, I'm a coach to a lot of women. I have 2 coaches. I have a business coach and I have a personal coach, and both of them are hardcore. And I am. And I wouldn't be the woman I am today if it wasn't for events and coaching and having a group to say, hey, where are you at? You've been silent. What's going on? Why are you running? And it's changed. It hasn't just changed. It's pieces. I'm realizing this. I'm the gift. I'm the gift inside the group also. And my piece of the puzzle fits. And it's important. So that's how it all started. And I will still go. I'm going to one, and I'm going to yours. And I don't care if it's the same people. That's not what it's about. It's what nugget did I miss that I don't have to miss this time?
Ours is going to start where Thomas is left off. That's you wouldn't have guessed that about me probably at all, would you? Everything you're talking about is everything I've sought my entire life. And, you know, the fact that we've been able to build big businesses and make a lot of money, that's all great. I do not care about money. Like, it's a tool. I'm grateful to have it so that we can use it to do cool things with. But the cool things have a lot more to do with everyone else and not really with me. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love my home. I love having a vehicle. I love not stressing about cash. I think everyone should rise to a point where that's not the focus. But once you're there, it's everything that you're talking about. It's like, well, look at everything that I gave up to get that. And now I'm really hungry for the connection. And our goal is to help people find that connection before they make that decision, because we can help them in business. We can help them make a lot of money. But there's so much more to life than that. And especially in the Western world where it's just been thrown down our throat. You know, for years it was go to college, get a job, get a pension, retire, die in 10 years. Now we have a bunch of young entrepreneurs at 20 years old that are like, yee-hi, MFer, I'm going to go do what I want to do the way I want to do it. And you're like, well, anarchy is getting ready to set in. So we still need to teach them some leadership. But yeah, I wanted to explore fitness. I wanted to explore faith. I wanted to explore family of origin, as well as alignments like you and I have and the people that we're with, because it makes life so rich. And Robin was the teacher for me of that richness, because I was running away from tradition. I was running away from memories because they were so painful. And I realized that I was missing out. And I think a lot of people are. So I'm glad you're coming. The reason I asked you those questions, though, is because you have an event coming up.
I do.
You paused it for a moment. You're going to push it out, but I want you to tell people what it is. Because even when they hear this, maybe they hear this a year after we've recorded it, I want them to be able to come to your website. I want them to be able to find where you are, and we'll talk about all that at the end. But I want them to follow you because you're one of the real ones. And that's part of who I mean, everybody that I bring on this show are people that I give the 2 thumbs up to. And Jenn, the reason that's so important to me is you didn't either. I didn't have this growing up. I didn't know where to go. I saw Brian Tracy because I worked at Radio Shack. I had no idea how to get to a seminar. I had no idea how to find a mentor. And my grandfather passed away, and I'm like, well, what the hell do I do now?
Yeah.
It was shitty.
Yeah.
So what's this event that you're doing?
Oh, it's so awesome. We did pause it. It's coming up in October. It's called A Balance, creating your life tactical and practical for your purpose, for a purposeful life. And really a bunch of business women, a lot of business women who, even stay-at-home moms. I've been both. And at one time I was just a stay-at-home mom for a lot of years and like paused my career, and then coming back into working, and I have kids that are homeschooled, and time becomes like a time warp, right? And it is like, it's a man's world. Okay, right on. So it is. Do I have to be like a man? No. Do I have to become something that I'm not to move forward in business? No. Do I have to take a stand and know when the difference is to really take a stand? And sometimes taking a stand isn't even using words. There's a lot of communication in silence, which is very, very powerful. And so this event coming up is going to be a 4-day event. It's at a ranch out in Texas. So it's all inclusive. A chef, my partner and I, she's phenomenal. Everything's going to be right there. We're going to do some fun, tactical and practical self-defense stuff. I have my dear friend Adam is coming in, and if you know anything, his name's Adam Smith. If you don't know him, go check him out.
Yes.
He's so amazing at coming in and being with women that are scared. And if you're scared in business, then you're scared inside your personal life. And when it comes to like the self-defense and punching, what happens is the woman is so focused on something else besides being scared that revelation comes after. And then a smell or a song or something they tasted, or like the sweat, all of a sudden it becomes a core memory. And so inside of that, yes, they're fighting to get out of a chokehold from the front. Yes, they're fighting out of it, but what's really happening is they're fighting their internal demons. And when they realize that that's something that they can fight, and yes, in that moment, I'm alone. Like, I have a story. I was going in for some sex trafficking kids. I actually got pulled away from my team. I ended up like full blown in a fist fight with this man for about 2 minutes. I got on the ground. He was on top of me. He was choking me. And I remember thinking, Jenn, you're breathing like you're still in this. even like when like it got closer and closer, and that came from knowing like you're not dead until you're dead.
Whew.
And so when life feels like you're being choked out, you're not. When the dark overtakes you, it doesn't. When the light comes, like walk in it, because it doesn't always stay. And being willing to die to self every single night. Yesterday, the woman I was yesterday isn't going to work for me today. You know, and all of that comes with physical activity. It's huge. And so these women are going to be put in situations that we're going to talk about business. Like, okay, where are you at in your business? Or do you need to move into the next level? Okay, great. What are you afraid of? Well, I'm not afraid of anything. Okay, well, let's find out. And getting them physical, it drops that armor for them to actually see what's going on. Or if it's their marriage. I mean, marriages today, it's crazy. The divorce rate is low right now. And when I studied it further, I realized, Chris, that the divorce rate is lower because people aren't getting married.
Yeah.
And oh my, like it, you know, it's, and like that's the stuff that really bothers human beings, period. That when you get ready and you go in there and you face it, it's like that, like that's a human being, not an object. Like you're a human being, you're not an object. Like feel it. Can you feel the choke? Like whether it's physical or not, like you're a human being. Like it's not even about deserving. It's like stepping into becoming the next part of you. And if you don't know what it's going to take, we're going to find out.
Sounds awesome.
It's so much fun, and there are times we're getting ready to revamp some things, thinking about adding some awesome things into it. Like we do target practice. Taking bows and arrows, and the difference between a goal and a target, for me, there's a really big difference. For some people, it doesn't matter. Like they can say the word goal and it could mean the same thing. Okay, great. Just at our events, we use the same terminology just for everyone to like get clear, and we'll have them with a bow and arrow and go shoot your target and see how close you are. Okay, you're this far off. Okay, then we need to pause. You know, we're off path, right on. So we create a new path if we have to, or we just step back on the path. Which way is it? And then like throughout the week, they're going to see that they're actually going to be able to aim closer to their target. And just the visualization of, oh my gosh, I am off. Like, and it not be a bad thing. Like it's not good, it's not bad, it's not any of that. It's like, okay, now you actually really see it. And when you get clear that way, the path doesn't freaking matter. What matters is that you hit your target at the end.
Boom.
And that's the thing. Like comparison is a lie, perfection is a lie, like all of that stuff. So we bring them in a place where like they get to wear what they want to wear, but there's 2 days where they wear the same outfits, and like almost like no makeup. Like bring you it's an add-on. Makeup and clothes, it's an add-on, it's not an identity. And we strip all of us to a bare minimum. The coaches are bare. We are not in any makeup. Where like all of our feelings, I have them right on a shirt, like their feelings are what they think that they're horrible at. And we take that over to the target. There's some things that women hold on to, and I'm not saying men don't either. There's some things that women hold on to, and then it creates so many unbeliefs that once they're willing to let that go, like they're ready to step into the next phase, and there really isn't a lot of change that really needs to occur. So
what's the name of the event?
It's called Unbalanced. Tactical and practical
Unbalanced.
life. Unbalanced.
Unbalanced. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Well, because so many of us are seeking balance, you know, and if you know anything, and I don't know a lot about cars, but in order for you to balance things out, you have to stretch and pull something on both sides, and then balance occurs. Well, if I'm on one side stretching, I'm on the other side stretching, then there's two parts of my foundation that I'm not touching. So if I'm only focused on faith and I'm only focused on my fitness, then I have my family and my finances that I'm not even paying attention to.
Right.
And I'm hiding under, like, I need to get balance. I need balance. I need balance. Like, what if you just said, fuck balance?
Right.
And what if we just unbalanced everything? And that's why the 4 pillars are so important. If I every single day connect to my family, to my friends, if I am willing to like do the 15 minutes sometimes only of a workout, but get my body moving, if I'm willing to get on my face and meditate and ask for revelation, and then step into my finance, then yes, some things are going to kind of like right now for me, business is more important than fitness. So some things are going to take precedent, but I don't drop it. And once I see that, then balance really started to occur. And I didn't even realize it was happening because I've taken the time to connect. I'll send a little video to my college kid. Like, hey bud, I love you. I'm proud of you. I wanted you to know that like I'm here no matter what. Or a little post-it note. I sent it to my other kid. Like I'm doing, it's not even bare minimum. It's I'm connecting heart to heart with my family, with my friends, with my relationships. And from there I don't have to worry about it. And when I'm wrong and when I fuck up, like I'm owning it. And right now there's a lot of things that I get to own and take an account for, and like I'm not embarrassed about it. And
Shouldn't be.
so no, a lot of people are like, we get, some I don't mind guilt. What I mean is like for me that's like a conviction. It's when we go into shame.
Mm.
It's that, and it's a choice. It's a choice, like to go into shame. And so that's the thing, like stop focusing on balance. Like stop thinking you have to do this or have to do this or have to do this, have to do, like stop doing something, just pause, become it, be with it, become that woman, and then go do something. And now that like I have this foundation, when I send those messages to my friends or my family or my business partners, like they know that I'm not just like blowing smoke up their butt. I've connected with them. I've taken the time, like heart to heart connection, even inside a business. And it's so much easier when you mess up or when you don't, that you're just able to be like, hey, like it's a very obvious I wasn't committed to you. And inside of that, like just saying the straight up thing, like my commitment was to protect my ego. I wasn't actually committed to what I promised you that I was committed to. And that was wrong. And from this point on, I'm committed to becoming this woman. And it's not just a result, like dollar sign result. Like I'm committed to becoming a new woman. And since I've really started focusing on that, then things have really changed for me. Relationships, how I'm willing to take into account, let my yeses be yeses and my noes be noes. What, like I don't fit in, these girls aren't gonna like me. I've come on so many like masterminds, and my very like introduction is, hey, like y'all are making me nervous. I feel very like separated. I want to separate myself from you guys, and I just need to say it out loud, and just say like the real thing. And when you're willing to do it personal, then in your personal life and in business, people are going to know. They're going to trust you because you're authentic, not because you're living in like a blind trust. And that's the woman I'm really wanting to become, an authentic woman, not an authentic mom, not an authentic businesswoman or friend, just being a woman who's so authentic that people, they know, like they know if I mess up, I'm going to own it. And if I follow through, they knew that they can count on me. And that's the balance, is not worrying about it, just owning where I'm at. And so that's the more women want balance, the more imbalance they're going to get. So let's unbalance it.
I
Let's
love
get
it.
let's get the foundation and make sure the soil's good. And then from there, like the possibilities are endless. Once they're willing to, oh, that I haven't been watering that part of my soil, or I like have ignored my husband. We haven't gone on a date night. I haven't set up a date night for my husband. Like, well, how come? Like, what is that about? What are you up to? Oh, well, I want him to do it. Well, okay, right on. Have you asked him? Well, why do I have to ask them? Well, because actually they're not mind readers. Like just like hit the nail on the head. And the minute they go home and connect to their family and their spouses, things really like then the possibilities, because now they're not so worried that, oh, well, I haven't really been home. I've been gone for 2 weeks on a trip. I'll just stay gone and like deal with it later. They're not pushing things to later. They're just bringing it about right there. And you know what? It's freaking radical when it comes on.
I think it's beautiful. Jenn, if people wanted to connect with you, what's the best way for them to do it?
So my website, it's www.HeyCoachJenn.com. And that's a really easy way. My phone number is on there. My email is on there, so they can connect that way, set up a discovery call, and go from there. There are some things that are being not fixed, just added on. An ebook is coming up at the end of the week. And so there's a lot more stuff that's going to be presentable for them. But yeah, my
And
website
where are
has
you
all
on
the
social
information.
media?
So I'm not on TikTok. But I am on Instagram, and my handle is at HeyCoachJenn,
Okay.
and it's JENN. And then on Facebook, Jennifer Rees. I'm public. Don't even have to like invite. You can just click follow, and you'll see everything on there. And LinkedIn, Jennifer Rees.
Yeah, and you've got some really raw and real videos that you do because you like to hit that record button right as you've gone through something. And have conversations about it. And it's really refreshing. So I recommend everybody, like if you're jamming along with what Jenn's talking about, go find her and watch some of her videos. The woman has had a lot of experience and you're willing to share it, which is a really beautiful thing because it can help other people through yours instead of them having to do it for themselves.
Yeah, I did a video just a couple days ago, and I was very raw. And I wasn't going to post it. It wasn't like edited and all this stuff. And I was like, like, I don't even know why that thought even came in. And I went there, and I probably have received over 30 text messages from women I know, women I don't know, that are like, hey, like, I had no idea what was really occurring for me until you started talking. And then all of a sudden I realized like what was going on. And, that the minute that those messages started coming through, isn't it interesting how the dark just goes away?
Yep. Connection is so much more powerful than we give it credit for. And in a world that doesn't promote it,
yeah.
Once you have it, you're like, oh, I forgot about that. So thanks for what you do. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me and letting me talk about my favorites.
Yeah, we'll have you back on just before your event. And we'll do a special, we'll do a special promo and get it out there and let some ladies know about it because you're the real deal.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your time.
Thank you all for listening, and we will see you in the trenches. Take care.
I came from the mud. There's dirt on my hands. Strong like a tree. There's roots where I stand.
Hey friend, if you enjoyed listening to this podcast, please leave a review and subscribe to catch future casts. If you really enjoyed this episode, make sure you share it so others can benefit from it as well. I'll see you in the trenches.
Try to catch me howling at the moon.